Hi there, I'm Coach Craig Kenneth, and in this video I'm going to be talking to you about why is my ex so mean to me? Well, there's a good chance that your ex is being mean to you after a breakup. Unfortunately, many people just aren't emotionally centered enough to be kind. They didn't grow up learning how to set some boundaries in a way that was adult-like, and so they often do a lot of things that are mean and hurtful. And one of the things that happens is your ex can get very cold and be very cold with you very quickly. And that can be in the way they talk to you, in their tone of their voice, in the way they respond to you in messages, in how long it takes them to respond to you in messages. It could come out in a lot of different ways. They may even tell you not to contact their friends and family, or may tell their family not to contact you. So a lot of things can happen that can really shock you. Like, who is this person? I'm willing to bet many of you are feeling like, who is this person? I don't even understand how this is the same person that I dated, right? Exes can say a lot of mean and hurtful things after a breakup, and it's obviously very painful, and it causes you a lot of physical pain because it's coming from somebody that you love and that you're just trying to repair things with. Somebody that you care about, and you just want to try and rebuild a connection with them again. So it can feel really disheartening when you feel like you're not going to get another chance to repair things with them, and like they're kind of slipping through your fingers. You know, you just feel helpless. And I understand what that's like because I've had it happen to me a few times. And every time it's just like, how could this person be so cold? How could they be so mean to me? I was never mean to them. Even if you don't want to be with me anymore, do you have to really be so mean about it? Well, there's a reason that they do this. And there's actually a lot of different reasons they do this, okay? But for you, on your end, I know you're probably thinking, well, why can't we just talk about this? I just want to talk about this. That was the big thing I used to think about breakups. Let's just talk about it. Just tell me what's going on. We could fix this. You know, but they don't want to talk about it. They're short. They can be irritable. They seem like they're being stubborn. Many of us say, oh, they're stubborn. They don't want to hear your side of the story. They don't even want to think about your side of the story. Sometimes they don't even want to tell you their side of the story, that they don't even give you real valid reasons. Many times your ex may not want to have some kind of conversation with you. And for you, you're shocked, you're hurt, you're surprised. You're like, who is this person? Someone you don't even recognize anymore. But do take into consideration that you are very hurt, you're very vulnerable, and you're very upset. So always consider, are they really being mean to me? Or are they maybe just more serious and not as vulnerable with you, right? Because, you know, sometimes it can feel like they're being mean to us because they won't budge or give us what we want. And we're fragile at this time. We're very vulnerable at this time. And so you can feel like they're being mean when maybe they're just being a little bit assertive, or maybe they're just trying to set a boundary with you. So just because they're not being pleasant with you or kind the way they were doesn't mean they're necessarily being mean. Now, that's not to say they aren't being mean, but just keep in mind that you're coming from a vulnerable place and you're probably very sensitive to smaller things. I know I was. Small, tiny things felt huge, especially if you haven't had any new information. And so maybe you haven't heard from your ex in 3 weeks, and then you see something online or they have some kind of contact with you, and that little bit of information feels like a lot of information, and that tiny little information, whatever it may be, it feels very hurtful to us, and it feels like they're being mean, okay? So there are a couple of reasons that I think exes are mean or, you know, cold towards you. Sometimes it's that they don't feel like there's any other way to handle it. And a lot of that is tied to how emotionally healthy they are, because healthier people will be more kind and empathetic, whereas people that maybe grew up in a home that there were a lot of explosive arguments or trauma or poor communication, they're not going to have the skills or the ability or the patience to be kinder and more caring when something like this happens. So people can get like this and, you know, they're not friendly with you and they can't be kind to you because they haven't been taught, and they may not see any other way. And they feel like they've got to create a distance here because they're wanting to end the relationship. That's how they're feeling, at least right now. They're wanting to create space. They're wanting to end and sever things. And as painful as that may be for you, I'm trying to get you to see their perspective of, at this point, most of them probably aren't thinking, oh, we're going to get back together. Because if they were thinking that, they probably wouldn't have ended it. But that can change with time. And if they are kind to you, it could be a mixed message that they think, well, you're not going to really think that I'm serious about this. You're going to think that we're going to repair this because I'm being nice to you about this, and I'm not getting angry at you, and I'm talking to you. But they're kind of caught up in how they feel, just like you're caught up in how you feel. You want to repair it, they want to end it. They're caught up in their feelings, you're caught up in your feelings, and you're trying to bridge it, and that's the exact opposite of what they're trying to do. So they're trying to separate, and that might lead them to being angry at you, because anger gives us an ability to separate from other people. And so they might be doing it, especially if you're doing anything to harass them. If you are repeatedly reaching out, and many of us do this, especially in the beginning, it's going to really make them angry. Sometimes they get really furious at you and they're like, you're not hearing me. And the truth is, you're probably not hearing them, because that's what happens with anxiety, right? This is what I try and help you guys understand, is anxiety causes us to be self-absorbed and selfish and only think about what we want. And I talk a lot about that in my video, The Real Reason Relationships Fail. That's a really good video. So they're feeling like you're being intrusive, you're not listening, you're not understanding, and that you're wanting them to comfort you. And they just don't have the skill or the ability or the desire to do it. Especially if they have an avoidant attachment style, right? They don't communicate very well, and so they oftentimes just shut down. And you're trying to connect, and they're like, I don't want to talk. Now, some people will even see that as a weakness. Like, oh, God, they're so pitiful. They just won't leave me alone. Don't they get it? Don't they get the hint? They can get really nasty sometimes. And that's why you really don't want to keep reaching out, because you're just going to make them feel that more and more with each time that you reach out, okay? And it doesn't allow them to miss you. So your behavior is going to probably have a huge impact on how mean they are to you, right? Like if you keep reaching out after they've asked you to stop, they're probably going to get meaner because they feel like you're not getting the hint. If you're reaching out to third parties, friends and family, trying to invade their privacy, that is probably going to make them really angry. So part of it is the behavior that you do after the breakup. Now, some of it could be actually how you were in the relationship. In other words, maybe your ex is angry at you for something you did. Maybe that's what caused the breakup, is little things were building up, or maybe something big happened, and so they're angry at you for something that they might have the right to be angry about. So their anger could be built up from maybe they were being mistreated over time, or maybe a certain problem kept happening over and over again, and they just got triggered about it. But you have to stop reaching out, because the anger is only going to get more intense if you keep reaching out when they've asked for space, you know? Now, sometimes their anger can be unprovoked. Believe it or not, sometimes you could get a message from them out of nowhere, And it's like, whoa, hang on a minute. We haven't talked in 3 months and you're just going to reach out and lash out at me? You might want to remind them, you were the one that broke up with me and you're trying to give them time and space. So it's not really fair if they just reach out to you and attack you. It doesn't happen very often, but sometimes it does. You don't want to be their punching bag, right? It's not okay. You might have to take some shots a little bit. If you did stuff wrong in the relationship, you're not going to get out scot-free for hurting somebody, but particularly if it's unprovoked, you know, that's not really fair. But you might want to listen and see if there's truth in what they're telling you about how they feel, or is it, come on, that's not what really happened, and you kind of feel like they're gaslighting you. So sometimes that can be confusing, because sometimes exes will gaslight you and make it seem like it was different than what actually happened. So be careful that nobody is spinning you on your head and you can't tell up from down and up down from up and all that, okay? So to put that in perspective, you kind of want to look at, you know, how mean they actually are, right? Because I don't want anybody to gaslight you. And I don't want anybody to make you feel like I was a good partner and they're telling me I'm not. Or, you know, I felt like I was really kind and generous to them, but they're saying that I wasn't and I was this and that. Because a lot of people, unhealthy people, will do that. So let's look at some of the behaviors that I would describe as mean. Are they cruel? Are they deliberately trying to hurt you? Is it in the moment they just say something and they don't mean it, or are they repeatedly doing it? Are they name calling you? Okay, that's a big one. You know, especially some of those names can be pretty rough. You don't want to tolerate that. That's abuse. Are they saying negative things about you to other people? Are they making you look really bad? And are they blowing things out of proportion, or are they just saying the truth? Like if they said, well, he cheated on me 3 times and you did. I mean, you know, that's the truth, you know. But if they say, well, I never could trust him, he was going out all the time, and you're like, I went out like once a month and I never did anything. That's different, right? So just be aware of if there's any gaslighting going on with them saying negative things about you to other people. Are they putting you down? You know, if they're putting you down a lot, you know, that's mean. Threatening you in any way. I'm going to tell your family, I'm going to tell your friends, I'm going to tell your boss. Whoa, that's some scary stuff there, you know, and you better step back and leave them alone. Lying. I see a lot of exes that will lie about you. That's really mean, okay? They're attacking your character when you're already hurting and you're down. So you better think long and hard about trying to repair a relationship with somebody who's doing these really mean things after a breakup, okay? Now, sometimes people do those things because they want you to get over the relationship. They almost want you to hate them. They don't want you to want them anymore. And so they will deliberately say and do mean things to push you away. You know, they will do things that will almost change how the relationship really was, right? Because if you say, we've been getting along great for the last 2 years, I don't understand why you would want to leave me. Think about it. If you say that to them, then they kind of look silly for leaving you, right? Because they're gonna be like, well, yes, we were happy the last 2 years, but I don't want to be with you. So what do? They do things like, well, I really wasn't that happy, okay? I wasn't as happy as you thought I was. And you're like, but you're thinking, well, you acted happy all the time. I'm not seeing this. But they will say, you know, you thought that things were so great, but there were signs. There were a lot of signs, okay? You just didn't see them. Now, sometimes that can be true, but sometimes it's your ex like wanting to hurt you so you don't want them. So you don't want the relationship anymore. And, you know, maybe part of it is trying to help you in some bizarre way. I mean, I certainly don't think that's a healthy way of going about it, but I think maybe that's their agenda sometimes. Or maybe it's just that you've been so pushy, that's all they can think to do. But, you know, don't be surprised if you hear them trying to downplay how great the connection was. Because you know, walking away and ending a relationship isn't easy to do. And for them to do it, they have to be able to justify it in their own mind, right? If in their mind, they're hearing your logic about how great it was, and they're still convinced they have to end it, they're not going to want to hear your logic. So they have to say something. So sometimes you have to know in your heart, no, I did not do the things that they're saying. I was a great partner, and they're just saying these things maybe to hurt me so I don't want them anymore, or because I was too pushy and wouldn't leave them alone. But like I said, there are different reasons that people can hurt you after a breakup. Did you hurt them? Did you mistreat them? Are they wanting revenge? Are they wanting to get back at you for something that you did to them? Did you cheat on them? And now they want to hurt you so you feel it. You know, did you cheat on them 2 years ago, and so they cheated on you at the end of the relationship, and now they want to get you back? Even if they look like they forgave you at the time, you know, it's still bothering them. So just understand that we get emotional in breakups, and people can do things irrationally and impulsively in a breakup, especially if they feel like they're being pushed into a corner and they feel like they're trapped and they feel like it's the only thing they can do. If you keep reaching out to them, it feels like they're backing into a corner and they have no other choice but to attack you to get you to back off. But understand that the breakup is hurting them, okay? The breakup is not easy for them. Even if they are definitive in the breakup, it's not easy for them. And they're not going to show you that, and they're not going to tell you that in most cases. But it's hurting them in a different way than it's hurting you, but it is hurting them. And when people are hurting, they often hurt people. I heard a saying many years ago that always stood with me. Hurt people hurt people. Okay, think about it. Hurt people hurt people. So your ex may be hurting, and that may be why they're being mean and hurting you. So these are just some of the things that I see in breakups. Of course, there are a lot others that maybe happen less often, or I hear about less often, but share yours in the comments so we can take a look at them. So hopefully this video will be helpful to you. If you want to get my help personally, you can do that on my website, askcraig.net. I do email coaching and I do Skype. Of course, my workbooks and my creative healing course are also available on my website. But that's it for this video. I'm Coach Craig Kenneth, and I will talk with you soon.